Hey everybody, my name is Justin. I'm an engineer over at a company in Atlanta called MailChimp. I also own a company called Rebuild Black Business and also render ATL a conference. And if there's too much noise in the background, tell me, I can like change spots too.
Welcome, Justin. So interview panel, just go ahead and one of you can start out.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we're all kind of curious. Where are you at right now, Justin?
Yeah, so I'm at a place called the a gathering spot here in ATL. It's more of like the intersection of where all things culture is happening at in ATL and for the general Southeast, completely black owned too. So I always come down here to do all my interviews so everybody could like see what's going on behind me and how this vision is possible for this entire establishment to be a dream and come to a reality for the last 5.5 years now. So
yeah, that's cool. I've been there a few times coming from Atlanta myself. I was wondering, just to dive in, if, you're from the South, you're in the South right now. Have you dealt with any sort of discriminations or stereotypes? And what have you done to not only overcome them yourself, but battle against them in the community?
yeah, sure. So a couple of stereotypes that have encountered was more so along the lines of people thinking that I am too good of an engineer just because of the color of my skin. And it's because they hold me to a standard that's actually lower than their counterparts. They think just because I know a couple of things that I am just awesome, which it could sound good, but it actually sets you up for like a failure because they're holding you to such a high standard just off of the color of your skin, not off of what you could actually do. So what I did to overcome that is I always set it up from the beginning that here's who I am, here's what I've done in the past, and here's what I'm looking to accomplish. Either take that at a face value or don't even bother with me at all.
Sorry.
What are some of the most common problems you've encountered in trying to change the tech industry from the inside?
Common problems. I would say one is that people don't understand that there is a problem in terms of D&I or in terms of having to be more equitable in terms of how you go about doing a test of candidates or how you go about trying to teach students. They don't understand that there is a problem there. And I would say the next problem is just going to be a pure capital, is that people don't dedicate the money that they actually should to help overcome the problem. And trying to explain to them why they should dedicate that type of capital is often pretty hard.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can see. Justin, I have another question in regards to kind of, I mean, so you've gone from like zero to hero. You're an engineer, you support Black businesses, and now you have the React conference, which is super cool. I actually got tickets for it, so maybe I'll see you there. But what would you say, like, when you're in that interview process and you're trying to figure out what your strengths and what your weaknesses, well, what would you say that your strengths are, and what would you say that your weaknesses are?
I say my strengths are usually that I'm a good orator. Like I understand how to communicate to people, and not just in a particular way that I see fit, but in a way that how they will understand as well the idea or the um, acts that I'm trying to get across to them. The way that I'm speaking to y'all now isn't the same way that I would speak to a boardroom of people that's trying to cut me a $100,000 check. It just doesn't translate the exact same. So I understand who my audience is. And once you truly understand who your audience is, being able to sell yourself, which is the ultimate goal in life, learning to sell yourself, which means learning to sell the ideas that you're trying to obtain, become a much easier goal. One of my biggest weaknesses is actually me trying to go too big all the time. I don't think in small scale. I think of everything big. You can kind of tell from everything I have going on. I don't ever try to crawl. I try to completely run. But I think that the that the overall weakness made me stronger because now I understand how I should crawl before I run overall.
I kind of wanted to go back to your point of knowing the audience. I know a lot in the community is referred to as code switching. I kind of wanted to get a little more of your mindset on that, of, you know, the differences between just consistently being yourself and who you are at all times, regardless, versus switching up how you speak and the different types of diction and vernacular that you use based off of who your audience is. Like, which one do you think kind of is better or worse, or kind of should you have a blend of both?
I think ultimately you should have a blend of both because if you sell a false idea of who you are, people will be able to penetrate that when you accidentally slip up. So if you are always up front about who you are, there isn't anything to hide when the time comes. There's been plenty of times where people think that they've caught me in some kind of act of like speaking crazy. But then other people like, no, have you not been following him on Twitter for the last 3 years? That's just who he is. That's how he speaks. That's just that person overall. And by me doing that, people are able to always say, I have genuine intentions, no matter how it might come across at times. Now, with that being said, you should understand, like you said about the audience, that there's a time and place for everything. You can't be who you are all the time, and particularly, don't need to act like you're out at the club while you're at your job. Like, I think that's a given. But just trying to understand how to write an email versus a text message is a small fundamental that I see people don't understand. That goes back to knowing your audience. The way I might respond to my boss on a Slack is way different than I might respond to a peer that's on the same exact level as me. Excuse me. So I think overall, knowing your audience enables you to code switch pretty efficiently so that you can always get your point across and still be genuine, which people will always have a higher respect for.
So Justin, that seems like it comes with a lot of time, a lot of practice, and possibly some trial and error. So what would you say, like, how did you begin the process of learning, of course, like knowing your audience and getting to where you're at, like with the knowledge that you have now from level 0?
So trying to learn my audience, like you said, was an extremely taxing idea. The way I did that was just honestly asking the polls. I'll get on my social media. I'll get on open forums. I'll say, here's my content. What do you think? And overall, I kept getting feedback. And with that feedback, I was able to craft, and particularly how my audience expects me to sound. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm always speaking to them in a particular way that they want me to. But what that means is I understand what their triggers are. I understand what their do's, what their don'ts are. And that makes me an effective communicator. If you think about what lobbyists get paid thousands to do. They get paid to go to Congress and just basically tell them what they want done every day. Now, it doesn't mean that Congress is going to do the thing that they truly want, but what it shows is that if you understand who you're talking to and what the expectations are, you will be able to get what you want out of that person or that or that entity for either yourself or the a greater good.
Hey, Justin, just to add on to that same question, you mentioned in your podcast that a lot of people skills like communication, patience, and knowing what you don't know aren't taught, but they're at the same time, they're the main metrics that engineers get graded on after their junior roles. How would you address this?
How would I address what in a particular?
I guess how would you address the education of getting people to learn how to communicate and all this kind of stuff if it's not really taught in schools? We're just taught like pure engineering.
I think ultimately you gotta think about it like if you are hungry, you are gonna raise your hand and say, "I am hungry. I need to eat." If you recall when you was in K through 12, you just couldn't go to the bathroom. You had to like raise your hand and ask the teacher, "Can I go use the bathroom?" Which just sounds like crazy now because you're a grown adult. But you had to raise your hand and be like, "I need to go pee," and the teacher had to say, "Okay." So why I bring that up is because you had to be forced to learn how to communicate effectively to get your point and your desire across. And it's not until you'll be placed into a particular situation that you will truly see the value of it. Because there are people that go their whole life, they didn't learn how to communicate, whether it's to their job or their spouses, to anybody, and they always take the thing that they truly don't want. And it's not until they get into a situation that they could see, only if I had raised my hand to go to the bathroom, that I wouldn't be right here, right now, peeing on myself, you know? And that's a unfortunate situation, but the outcome of that is that now you learn I need to raise my hand every single time I need to go. So I think you really can't teach it per se. You could teach how to ask. You could teach what makes a good question, but you can't teach the act of here's how you actively force yourself. You got to take that own initiative upon your own self when you feel the time is right.
So Justin, how would you, I guess, like, could you give us some examples of like times that you've raised your hand, like through the period of your career, from like college to maybe where you're at now?
Sure. Every time I feel like I'm going off track, I just raise my hand. Like the other day at my job, I put my hand up because I told my boss, I was like, I don't feel like the work I'm doing is challenging me, which caught her off guard. But I was like, I feel like it's not challenging me. It's cool and all, but I'm not a fan of it. And I would like to do a better work so I can get to the next point, would be a staff engineer. So anytime I feel like what I'm actively doing, speaking, or saying isn't aligning up with my future goals, I always tend to raise my hand to help sure that I get over to the next part.
Could you give us students some like examples on how you would suggest we raise our hand in today's day and age? Like coming from school or like being at home, trying to apply for jobs, and like we're not in an environment where we have someone we can kind of go to, or like we're virtual, right?
Yeah, so I think the easiest way is via a DM on like a Slack. You could easily DM your teacher or your boss and be like, "Hey, I want to just talk to you for a quick moment of your time about some things that are on my mind." That's an easy way to just raise your hand. You can also do this over Zoom. You could just easily chat them on Zoom. Um, I think overall, all of them are going to come back to sending a particular text, unless you feel like comfortable enough to do it in this kind of a situation where I'll be like, hey, Joshua, after the call, can you like hang out? I want to talk. And that's also a way of like raising your hand. Don't think about it being confrontational. Think about it as you just sticking up for your own self to make sure that you get the peace of mind so that you can be at the place that you want to be in the upcoming years.
So, I know you mentioned how you had React ATL. Would you be able to like expound upon a little bit more about what that is? But also, as someone who is looking to start their own company or do outreach type of events, what was kind of your thought process of getting to just, I want to do something to actually doing it?
What was my thought process? One, I wanted to get paid. I'll just be real with you about it. Conferences is highly like lucrative, but also a big gamble because it does cost a lot of money. So I wanted to get paid, and I know how to, like I said, talk to a particular audience, which that audience here is going to be software engineers. So I thought I understood that. The other part of the equation was how can I use this platform to help elevate people in my own area or my own geospatial to also reap the benefits of this conference. So I started thinking like, okay, there's a lot of Black engineers here. Let's try to make sure that they are heavily included. So once I mashed up those two things, everything else was pretty much me chasing my passion of wanting to always help people, bring them together, and overall engineering.
Justin, what have been the most effective teaching tools or techniques that you've used or that you've learned when trying to navigate or overcome this, obstacles relating to lack of diversity or lack of inclusion in the tech industry?
I think the biggest tools I had was honestly just a faith, like there's anything else for it, just me having the inner faith that I do have a spot here, that I do belong here, and that no one else could tell me otherwise was what kept me going overall. So I didn't care that other people felt that I don't deserve this job or I don't deserve to be at the spot that I am. I knew what I put in the time for and what I dedicated myself for, and that at the end of the day, nobody can take that away from me.
Sorry, William.
Thank you.
Can I ask you that same question, Justin, in regards to computer science? Like what tools and teaching, like effective teaching tools have you learned and used when trying to navigate like the early stages of computer science? When did you know that you really knew what you wanted to do, and then how did you learn it?
Oh, that's a long question. Sorry, that's a long answer.
We can split it up into little chunks.
So I knew that I wanted to become how did I even start this? Okay, so my coding journey started in like 2000. I don't know if y'all can recall, but there was a particular website called MySpace back in the day. So I used to be active on MySpace, building like themes and websites for people and whatnot. I was like one of those kiddies, and I never charged anybody, but I didn't know at the time, but I was starting to learn a skill. So as I learned that skill, MySpace went away. So I got to college. I was like any other college student in their first 2 years. I acted like I wanted to know what I wanted to do, but truly deep down inside, I didn't know what the hell I was doing at all. I started as a chemistry major. For those who don't know, to graduate college in the U.S., you need between 120 to 130 credit hours. I ended up graduating with about 190 credit hours because I switched my major from like a chemistry, business, French, uh, back to chemistry, nutrition. Like I've been around the block, right? And I say all that because I didn't know what I wanted to do in all that time until I walked past a poster that just said, "Do you like code?" And they had like a little like snippet of code, and I'm like, "Oh, I remember this from like the MySpace days. This is pretty cool." And it was like, "Do you like code? Do you like money?" I'm like, "Hell yeah! Like, who doesn't want to make a lot of like money?" And it was like, "Do you like to problem solve?" I was like, why not? But do you like a business? I'm like, "Oh yeah, I love business. I always grew up in the entrepreneurship household." And it was like, "You should come talk to an advisor about business information systems." So I talked to my advisor. So I went out to the College of Business at my school. I went to Mississippi State University. So I went to the College of Business and was like, I seen this poster. How can I learn about more? Talked to the advisor. I signed up that very same day to switch over. For those who don't know, a business information system, shortened to sometimes just information systems, is a blend of computer science, so like coding and all of that, blended with strong business fundamentals. So I ended up doing that, getting really good at it. And it all didn't really truly click until I went to go build my first application. And like they say, a practice makes perfect, especially in the actual world. I built my first application and I found myself going on Google, looking up questions, trying to understand what other people were talking about, completely unprovoked. This wasn't a part of a class or anything. I was just having a passion for just trying to solve it. And out of that small personal project that I did over the summer, I learned so many skill sets that I ended up graduating with a minor in computer science. It was at that moment I was like, yeah, this is the thing for me. And I think I just have a natural appetite to just digest this information. It isn't hard because at the end of the day, it's my purpose.
Hey, Justin, just to ask a follow-up question on that same thing of you getting computer science education. How many jobs did you have to apply to before you got your first job?
Oh man, we talked about this the other day. You already know the answer, but I walked into my walked into my senior year of college. So that was like May 2014. And I was like, I'm gonna apply for a job every single day because if I know if I do my due diligence and apply, no one can take that away from me. That I didn't try. I didn't give it my all. So to make a long story short, I graduated, I think it was May 9th, 2015. I didn't get my first job offer until May 5th of 2015. Of the like 300 plus job applications I had mailed out, because like I said, I applied at least once a day, sometimes twice a day, sometimes 8 times a day. I was just getting really, really, really desperate. I ended up getting 3 on-sites and I ended up getting 2 job offers.
Hey Justin, we actually have a question that came in chat, and it looks like they're asking, did you get any project-based learning or mentorship in college when you got started? I know you mentioned the information systems poster that sort of caught your attention, but what did learning code and learning code to where you were able to feel confident, like you can apply for jobs, even if you had to apply for one every day? How did that start for you?
Yeah, so I did a lot of internships. I did a lot of co-oping, mostly the internship piece. But the thing that I did, which I told y'all on the call the other day, was I went from door to door in my college town. I was knocking on a door every day, like, hey, my name is Justin. I have a particular skill set, and particularly it was to help businesses get their product to like a market via like websites. I will help you build your first website. Now, folks on the call probably like, build your first website is 2021. No, no, no. This was like 2012, 2013, 2014. Even though we were in the 2000s, people still wasn't building their first website. Didn't see the need, or they would just try to do the 100% Instagram of approach. So I would offer my skill set free of charge. By me doing that, it enabled me to then be able to learn skills that I didn't in the classroom that I could then transfer to when I got the job.
Are there any particular support networks, organizations that help sort of lift you up, or that you would recommend other aspiring engineers to look into?
Number one is ACM, stands for the Association of Computing Machinery. They basically get together monthly, talk about what's going on at a scientific level in the world of coding. Because I truly believe if you could understand what's going on at a deeper level, you can understand everything else going on overall. Other than that, to be honest, I was really big on Stack Overflow. So I would get on Stack Overflow daily and just hang out like you do on any other video game forum. Just talk to people. There's a lot of people out there that just like to like talk to you, especially if you are a young engineer. Beyond that, there really isn't like much else that I could attribute to.
Thank you. Could you repeat the name of that first one again one more time, please?
Yeah, ACM, Association for Computing Machinery. So I'm gonna put it in the chat right now too, for anybody that wants to check it out.
Thank you.
What would be, now that you've accomplished all these things, kind of settled in, well, I don't know if settled in, gotten an engineering job, and you have your conference that you're running, what's kind of your next step, or like some goals you have going forward? I'm sure there are like a bajillion.
My goal and my only goal right now is to get enough sleep every night. That's been my biggest goal, to get 8 hours of sleep. I'm always coming short, like 6.5, 6 hours. You can probably tell right now I'm extremely tired. But yeah, that's my biggest goal right now. Get enough sleep every night. It's hard. I swear to God, it's so hard. But more on a professional tip, become a staff engineer in the next year or two. Outside of that, I would say try to balance my life overall, not just the entrepreneurship mindset. Also understand that you have other people in your life that care about you too, and that you need to make time for them. Because it's very easy to get swept up in the money and the fame and everything else. So yeah.
How long was it into your career that you started to realize that it wasn't just about the career and about advancing yourself, and you had to find that balance and spend that time with other people?
Honest answer?
Yeah, honest answer.
I mean, a couple of like months ago. I think COVID is a blessing and a curse. A curse because it completely shut down everything. People died, sadly. Businesses lost, jobs lost, pain everywhere. A blessing because it truly showed you what you need to be making time for, because it showed you that tomorrow isn't a promise, and that if you don't enjoy what you have today, it could be gone in the next day or two. So one thing that one of my friends said, name is Ryan Wilson. He owns a spot here. We was in like a closed door meeting once, and he was like, the thing that keeps him going, other than like his family, is understanding that you only got one life. You don't got two chances. You don't got three chances. This game called life right here can only be played one time. And once you understand that you can only play it one time, you will truly try to wake up every day and enjoy it to the fullest, not just for yourself, but for those all around you too. So understanding that and comprehending that will push you not just professionally, but also personally.
Hey,
Thank
Justin.
you. That was a great answer.
Hey, Justin. So listening to all your podcasts, you talk a lot about the difference between diversity and culture, and your conclusion is that the answer is culture, not diversity. What does that mean?
I just want to a comment on the chat real quick. William Chadwick said, in the podcast, I said I was only getting 4 hours of sleep. I want to say that is an accurate statement, because at like one point in time, I was trying to juggle life, conference, all of that. And it was extremely, extremely taxing. So, yeah, you can see people all around me right now just trying to talk to me. But it was extremely taxing. And the only way I could ever get it done was by going 4 hours a night. Now, I've adjusted that now, 6 hours a night. But the way I had to do that, I had to create boundaries. And the way I did that is I go to bed at 10 o'clock. All of my friends know, do not call me after 10 o'clock. I am not going to answer the phone, okay? But I'm up every day at about 4:30 or 5 o'clock. So, 6.5 hours of sleep, 6 hours, it improved my functionality every single day. So yes, I did actively make that statement. Not trying to backpedal on it, so I'm gonna be clear about it. Do not do that though. Your question was what now, Chris?
Okay, so when we listen to your podcast, you talk about the difference between diversity and culture. So what and how diversity is kind of the wrong approach. So how did you come to the conclusion that culture is the answer? And kind of a follow-up, why would people even want cultural changes at their companies? What's wrong with just going to work and getting paid?
Yeah. So the thing about diversity is it's an extremely bastardized word. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of people throw that on just their marketing pamphlet to just say we are a diverse organization, a company, individuals overall. There was just a tweet the other day by the Air Force, I want to say it was, that talked about we are now doing diversity training. We're all getting together. Did you know there was anybody but white men in that picture? They got torn apart. It was like, see, how are you doing diversity training, but everybody in the damn room looks the same? You know what I mean? So I feel like it became such a buzzword that people don't understand what it truly means and what they're actually trying to do. They're not after diversity, they're after culture. And when you understand culture, you are going to learn what makes you, Chris, a Chinese. And now understand that you're Chinese, how can I learn your culture to better impact me as a Black man and my overall company and make that a process better? And by you doing that, I become more receptive to your culture. And now your culture plays a bigger part of my organization. And now everybody feels more comfortable and more equitable at the table. So that's why I always say you chase after culture to understand a person, because at your core of roots, you have a culture that I don't understand, and if I understand it, I make everybody better, and we all make each other better.
That was an awesome answer. Thanks, Justin.
Great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's an awesome answer too. I swear.
I want to open up the forum to everyone right now. So interview panel, you've done an amazing job. Stay on. So if some people, if you want to ask the question, if you feel comfortable, go ahead and do that out loud. If you want to post it in the chat, then maybe someone from the interview panel can take it and ask it for you. But please, everyone feel welcome to ask their questions. You might want to just raise your hand or post it in chat so that I can call on you.
Hey, real quick, I'm gonna point the camera at this young lady right here. She's also a software engineer at a MailChimp too. So she's on a different team than me, but yeah.
Hi, nice to meet you.
She graduated from Spelman down here, and she's at a MailChimp working on cool stuff. So yeah.
Nice to meet you.
All right.
Let's see. Does anyone have any? Samir, I see you have your hand raised, so go ahead.
Yeah. Hi. It's nice to meet. Nice to be able to talk to you, Justin. Thanks for taking the time.
Always.
So I was looking at your, I was actually taking notes on the podcast about your schedule, so I have it all written out in front of me, because I think that's something that's crucial. Is being responsible for your time and being held accountable to the actions you take in a day and making sure they help you reach your goals. And so I have a question about that, which is, if you had some tips on your time management, because obviously that's really important to you. What are the most important things that you kind of try to keep in mind or that help you move through your day in such an efficient manner?
So the thing that I was told as a young engineer is understand what you do with your time at every minute of the day. And the way that my boss had me itemize this out was he was like, I want you to keep a time journal, and every half an hour, write down what you did. And you will learn really quickly. If you do that, there's a lot of holes in your day that you're like, wow, I didn't do anything at all. You know what I mean? And I could probably get a lot more done. Now, what you need to understand is you are not a machine, even though you might call yourself one. So you cannot be on autopilot every single day. There are days where you might only get 1 or 2 things done, and that's okay. There are days you might get 20 things done. That's amazing. But the overall goal is to just keep moving. There's a poem by Martin Luther King where he talks about, I don't care if you gotta crawl, I don't care if you gotta walk, I don't care if you gotta run. You just keep moving overall. And that's what I tell myself every day. There are days that I don't want to do this. I don't want to do a commercial. I don't want to just, honestly, I cry because there's a lot going on. But I tell myself, if I can just get out of bed and put 1 foot on the floor, I'm gonna get things done. And understanding that even if it's not 20 things, that doesn't mean that I failed at my day. I still got things done, and that's better than what I did the previous day. And I guarantee you, if you keep that mindset, you will find days where you'll just poke your head up and you're like, whoa, I don't have anything to do. Or wow, that overwhelming project is done now because I took my time. They used to always give us a quote in school too, by the way, that said, the easiest way to eat an elephant is a bite at a time. So anytime my boss comes to me with a huge project, I honestly still panic about it. But I say, okay, calm down, Justin. What is the smallest thing you have to do first? And usually that's just doing a small little HTML import or anything. I do that first, and then I just start building. And next thing you know, a small little snowball turns to a whole avalanche.
Thank you.
Chris has a good question in chat. You can ask it, Chris.
I thought I took too much time already, but okay, we'll go. So I said someone in here needs to ask Justin about his hustle because the guy's a monster. He has his main job, he has side hustles, he runs the conference React ATL, and he talks about the stock market and building generational wealth. And it's like a big question, but we'd like to hear it.
So, what is the main question you want to ask? Because I got like 20 questions in there. So, what's the main meat of it?
I don't know. Maybe just tell us how can you just have so many things on your plate? How do you hustle so hard, and what's the purpose of it?
Some people think I do it for the fame. Some people think I do it for the fortune. I do it for my own mental health. I like to work. I like to provide. I like to do nice things. I like to drive nice cars. I like to go on nice vacations. I like to do the best things ever. That requires work. That requires discipline. But overall, I'm not the same person if I don't get up and work every day. And some people might say that's a bad mentality to have, but I understand what comes with that. Like my financial advisor told me one day when he saw I was not being disciplined. He's like, I'm gonna tell you right now, bro. Having money lets you do what you want to do when you want to do it. Not having money forces you to do what you have to do just to survive. Meaning, if I have money, I can do what I want. If I don't, I have to go to work sick. I have to go to work with a broken arm because I had to get these bills paid. I can tell you right now that my financial advisor, he also does my taxes too. Every year, right before the tax season, him and his wife sail around the whole world from the end of Thanksgiving all the way until the beginning of February. Every year, they just go around the whole world, every continent. Yes, including Antarctica, every single year. And hearing about stuff like that and just seeing the lifestyle that folks have, you only achieve that through either blind, pure luck. I mean, you walk outside, you buy a lottery ticket, you get a Powerball. But what's the odds of that actually happening, though? Yes, it could happen. But what's the odds of that? Or what's the odds of you betting on your own self every day? Meaning, I'm gonna get out of work, put in the work, the time, and the discipline. Those odds are way better.
How did you bet on yourself during college, Justin? I know you just muted.
I think that's a bad question to ask because college is not really a time of betting on yourself because you're just trying to have fun and you're still in like school mode. Like a kid, or there might be folks here that if you ask them, why did you go to school but you didn't finish? It's like, well, I was going from high school to college and I was just always told you go to college. It's because you're on autopilot and you think that's the next thing you do. It doesn't become college. It becomes a 13th grade, a 14th grade. So I didn't really bet on myself per se. I just knew the lifestyle that I truly wanted, and I would not stop at anything until I could have that. And I still don't have that true lifestyle, but I'm getting close though.
I have a question, Justin. Due to the past events this year, there's been a big push for making diversity, inclusive work environments, social settings, in online environments, as we all are kind of working remote. In general, though, I've read a lot that a lot of these things fail, right? They come with good intentions, but then maybe a company hires based on percentages of diverse staff and says, okay, we have 20% African-American, we have 20% women, et cetera, and then those numbers fall within a year because people don't feel included. They don't feel accepted and kind of valued in their companies. So what advice would you give these new tech companies who are trying to create diverse and inclusive environments? And then what about people who are entering into them, who come from minorities or people who haven't had a voice in the past? How can our students who are here on this call, when they go into the tech world, really advocate for themselves and push their needs forward?
I think the biggest thing is understanding that you are a human being that have particular needs and wants that everybody may not understand overall. And it is your job to not just pave the way for yourself, but for other people who may also look like you, that they could also have those same exact benefits. The biggest thing for tech companies to understand is that there isn't no one size fit all, and it's going to take time, but more importantly, money, a capital to overcome that. And it's okay; it might cost you a tiny bit, but the long-term gains always outweigh the small term. Like in the stock market, what you buy short term always doesn't do as well as a long term. Asterisk mark by that. Sometimes a stock is just bad, but for the most part, if you invest in the S&P, it's always gonna go up year after year, a long term. And the same thing with a company. If you invest in your culture and you invest in the workforce, it's going to go up year after year for overall long-term gains that will not just benefit you, but the people and the overall product.
When it came to you as the product, and stuff like that, thank you. When it came to you as the product, what would you say that you grew and you learned the most, or like you've grown exponentially? College, you said, was more so a time for you to have fun. I mean, I took a 3-year gap year because I was like, I want to have fun and not go until I know what I want to do. So I was like, okay. But so, going from zero and, not really having that mindset to, okay, now I'm starting to get the mindset of being an adult and, okay, I have these aspirations and I have these goals. What did you do to improve the skills that you didn't have?
What did I do? To be honest, they say a hard head makes a soft ass. And that's very true. Like, I went through things in college such as, hey, I just got paid. Let's all go blow my money on drinks and have a good time. And you learn real quickly that bills have a due date for a reason. It sounds intuitive, but you don't really understand it because you're still a child. So the best lessons I was taught was honestly the hardest one, such as, a workplace. I didn't tell my boss that I would be late on a particular deadline. So when the deadline came, she's like, oh, where's it at? I'm like, oh, I didn't get it done. She's like, why didn't you talk to me? Well, now I gotta write you up. So being in those kind of scary situations, whether it's at work or when it comes to paying bills or when it comes time to your personal life, teaches you the best way that no other book or no other resource can.
Can we reframe that question in terms of your ability to code and your ability to learn code?
We frame it in what way?
Yeah, so you as the product are now the product trying to learn this business information systems or trying to learn this new coding language that your class has tried to put you through. What are your steps to actually do that and create you a now marketable product?
To be honest, the best lesson I got when it came to learning to code was when I took a client's money, knowing I didn't understand what was going on, and then I had to teach myself on the fly, and I still didn't get the job done. When that happened, the client was really for giving, but I ended up going to online classes more to teach myself more of the skill sets that I was lacking in. So I took the own drive out of me to get a better, which is something that you gotta have in this type of field. You have to have the drive to get a better overall. And I took that drive, went online, found classes such as on like a Pluralsight to teach me what I didn't know. And by me doing that, I was able to elevate my skill set more.
Do you use a lot of, oh, sorry, go ahead, Justine.
We have time for about one more question, and then we'll probably wrap it up. And Justin, we wanted to be able to share your social media handle in the chat. Valdine was going to post it there. Is that all right with you? Sure. Okay. All right. Go ahead, Josh. If you want to ask the last question, then shoot.
Well, that's a lot of pressure asking the last question here. I feel like it happened on Wednesday too. I was just gonna ask for you there, Justin. You mentioned online resources. You mentioned teaching yourself. I guess could you give us some insight as to like maybe what some of the things that you learned that you did teach yourself, and some of those online resources, or like where you looked to go get those, to get the help in what you're looking for?
Yeah, a Pluralsight, a Code School. Code School was the first one I went to that really taught me a lot more that I learned in school. I think Code School got acquired though by a Pluralsight, I think. This is back in like 2012. So a Pluralsight, Code School, and just honestly, the best thing I ever did was I wanted to show off and find the skills that I didn't understand. So they always say that the best way of a flattery is through the art of imitation. And I was like, I'm gonna go copy my a favorite website at the time, which was where I spent all my time every day in school, which was Hulu.com. I was a Hulu junkie. So I went to Hulu.com, and this was in the days of like Twitter Bootstrap, which I don't know if people still really like use it a lot. But I took a Bootstrap and I made a replica of Hulu.com. And by me doing that, I learned the skills that I was weakest in and what I needed to target to improve upon for when I do get the job. And my boss says I needed to look like this and feel like this and act like this. I'm able to actively do that, and I won't be scared. I will understand how to go about finding what I don't know and how to fill that gap. Outside of that, highly recommend going to like meetups. Yes, I know it's a COVID right now, but you can still do that digitally. There's stuff out there like that. Digital conferences, a network, because people will teach you what you do know, and people will teach you what you don't know.
Thank you, Justin. That's great advice. And as we know, Justin does have a conference coming up. So please check out his newsletter, LinkedIn, etc. I just wanted to say thank you, Justin. This is really, really wonderful to have you. And, all the students, I'm sure, appreciate it and have gotten a lot of advice. And thank you also to the interview panel. You all did a great job. Valdine, do you have any closing words? Or? Okay.
Thank you for joining us today, Justin. I think that all of the tips and insight that you gave us was really helpful. And students, you asked a lot of good questions, and I'm excited to see what you do with the advice that Justin gives you. And yeah, have a great weekend, everyone.
And then one thing I just want to say, by the way, is I'm actually joined over here by, it's on my screen, but there's another, like 3 or 2 other Black engineers around me too. They were just gone, but she's an engineer, he's an engineer, and then he's an engineer. So we all just hang out at the bar. So it's completely fine to like go to your like a local bar and be like, hey, you want to hang out and do some code? So I promise you, you learn a lot while you're just hanging out in the most public spaces, talking to people, doing stuff. But yeah.
Sounds cool. Maybe I should become an engineer.
Yeah.
More fun. All right. Well, thank you so much. And I really appreciate you coming in for your time today, Justin.
Yeah, don't forget to check out his podcast and conference. And we'll be seeing you hopefully soon through your conference and listening to you, Justin. And again, thank you so much.
Same here. Have a good one, everybody.